I'm Kenton Clairmont. I'm a husband, father of 3, and the owner of Train to Hunt. So my whole life I've spent being fit and ready for sports. I grew up in a hunting household, and every fall we'd go out and hunt elk and deer, and the rest of the year I'd spend training for wrestling or football, baseball, track. There was always something to train for. Once I got through high school and through college sports, I really didn't have that outlet or that reason to work out and stay fit. Some people use their fitness just to look good. Some people use it to do recreational sports. I realized real early that my outlet was going to be hunting, and so my purpose for fitness and staying in shape was going to be so that I could be a better provider, a better hunter, be able to hunt longer, deeper, and with more confidence than the next guy. So right out of college, I jumped right into the profession of personal training and found myself training a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. A lot of basketball players, football players, volleyball players, and having the athletic background I had, I found myself training a lot of those types of athletes. But my passion really was with the hunting athlete. So I've decided to just dedicate my life to training the hunting athlete and the hunters, because there's nobody out there right now training the hunter to be more efficient, more confident, and just a better predator. Every year I go home with a peg in my pocket. I always ask myself, what could I have done different? What could I have done better? What do I need to do in the off season to make sure that I don't go home with the tag in my pocket next year? And I think that's a pretty common question among most hunters. The one commonality is fitness. It's the one aspect of hunting that you have 100% control over. You don't ever want to get caught in a situation where you can't hunt as hard on the last day as you did on the first.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Warrior Soul podcast. We are back after a little bit of a couple of week hiatus. I had to do some business traveling. And, over the past few weeks, a lot's been going on out there. We obviously have everything. We're hearing about everything going on out there in the world. And people are really concerned about the state of our country, the state of our future here. And through all the media and all of the things I hear about, what I'm not hearing about is something that I'm really concerned about. And that's the fact that, we've got about a third of our population that's pre-diabetic right now. And within the veteran community, 1 in 4 of us who's admitted to the VA system has full-blown diabetes. That's absolutely mind-blowing to me. And it's going to affect us. And I believe that the Pentagon is now actually looking at this as a national security issue. So the question comes up, how do we stay motivated? How do we get ourselves to the point where we can keep moving, where we can focus on our nutrition, where we can try to improve ourselves all the time? And the gentleman I have on today, Kenton Clairmont from Train to Hunt, he came up with a pretty awesome idea, and that is to take something that people love, like hunting, and make it into something that they're going to be training for all year long. And Kenton's from up there in Washington, so he's in a really hardy area. I'm sure it's very cold up there right now. I'm in my floofy little house down here in Southern California, enjoying the warmth and the sun and everything like that. But Kenton, first off, I want to welcome you to the Warrior Soul podcast.
Man, thanks. It's an honor to be here. I sure appreciate you tracking me down, and I really look forward to just chatting about all things hunting, fitness, health, you name it. I'm stoked to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. First things first, we were talking before we came on here, and I know you had a bit of a wrestling background, and it's funny because if you look at successful people statistically, particularly men, because it wasn't a really big sport for women up until recently, but statistically, a lot of successful men have been wrestlers. What do you think it is about wrestling that makes guys really launch themselves into life?
Man, that's a great question. It's funny you mentioned that wrestling is such a springboard for success, and the other thing that's crazy, Chris, is that you can identify a wrestler like pretty quickly. Like if I walk into a room full of dudes and and I look around, I can almost identify the guys who are either wrestlers or Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys or some guys who don't mind a little hand-to-hand combat, and I think a lot of that just comes down to how much discipline it takes to be a wrestler. You have to watch what you eat. You have to get up and grind every single day, even if you're just going to wrestling practice and putting yourself against another man and knowing that, you might lose, you might win, but you're going to go out there and give it everything you got. I think that those practices of discipline and not being afraid to lose, because let's face it, if you wrestled for any time at all, when you first started, you probably weren't that successful. You get out there and you get your ass kicked for a little bit, and then you just grind away. You get better, you learn, you stay disciplined, and before you know it, you're starting to beat some people that maybe beat you in the past. And I think that wrestling teaches that to people, that discipline pays off, which is probably the number one thing that wrestling teaches you, is that if you're disciplined, it will pay off. It's just, you have to be into it for the long haul. That your nutrition matters, because if you eat like crap, you're not going to perform well. You're going to be overweight, all those things. And so, at a young age as a wrestler, I learned those things really, really early, as far as like I said, discipline pays off, and watch what you eat and go out and perform, and don't be afraid to fail, and give it everything you got, and never, ever, under any circumstances, quit.
Yeah, there really is no other situation that a young person can be in that's going to teach them that kind of discipline. You're responsible for your weight. You're responsible for your own practice, your conditioning. All of these things, they play into this creation of what, for most of the time, is an outstanding individual. And I think that these are things that we learn when we're in the military as well. And when you're going through training, you're going through your time in the military, you learn about personal responsibility, you learn about discipline, and wrestling is a great way of instilling that. For yourself, you went from wrestling, you were into baseball, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And
yeah.
And you made it all the way up into college, and I think into the leagues.
Yeah, well, yeah, I played. Coming out of high school, I could have wrestled or played baseball, and I wrestled for 13 years. My 13th year of wrestling was my senior year, and man, I really had this passion for baseball. It was kind of a newfound passion, because I didn't even play baseball until I was 13. The small town I grew up in didn't have baseball, but man, I really had a love for baseball, and so when I got to be a college, it was the first time that I had played baseball in a school, because my high school didn't have baseball either. I just kind of leaned on the Babe Ruth and the American Legion program around, and by the time I got to make that decision, it felt like I had more to do in the baseball world than I had left to do in the wrestling world. And so I chose baseball and went on and played little college baseball. And then after college, I kind of went through a time that, I think a lot of your listeners can relate to, and that is, and under no circumstances am I trying to compare leaving my athletic career behind me and trying to figure out what's next to leaving the military and feeling lost. But I really had a sense of a loss of identity when I left college, because for the last 22 years, all I'd really been was an athlete. And that's where I felt like my worth was to the world, was as somebody who could physically perform. And I brought pride and to my family and my community and to myself. And when I left college, I really got lost, and I didn't really have my next mission. I didn't know what I wanted to do, because I'd put so much focus on on just being a professional athlete. Like, that's all I ever wanted to be. That's what I figured I'd be. That's why I went to college, is just the next step of becoming a professional athlete. And then once I left college and went undrafted, I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm telling you, it was one of the hardest times of my life, because I felt like my whole life had been, just kind of this big failure, because I hadn't completed my mission, and my mission was to be a professional athlete. And so I had to just kind of recompose myself and find out what my next mission was, and decided that if I couldn't be a professional athlete, I was going to try to educate and inspire and help the next generation, fulfill some of their dreams. Because I knew that being a college athlete was a pretty big deal just in itself. And so I went back to the high school ranks and started coaching, and I coached there for a couple of years, and they inspired me to go out. They thought, man, coach, you should go out and try out. You're still pretty good. You can still swat pretty good. So I went out and went to a tryout in Spokane, Washington. And about 2 weeks later, I got a call from a manager of the Johnstown Johnnies in Pennsylvania, and asked me if I'd like to fly over there and start a game on the 4th of July. This was the 2nd of July. And so I went in and told my boss, hey, I got an opportunity to play some professional baseball. I'd love to take the opportunity, but I feel bad for just kind of leaving you high and dry. And luckily, the guy I worked for said, man, you got to go chase your dream. This job will always be here, but this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I went to Pennsylvania and played one summer of minor leagues. And then after that summer, I came back and got into my new job or my old job back. And it was a great time. It was one of those moments in my life, and one of those times in my life that I really needed something to kind of put me back on a track of making me feel like I was still worth, I still had it. I guess every man wants to know that they still have it. And I got unconditionally released, but I still got my year in the sun, and I stopped having nightmares about trying to go out on the field I couldn't find my cleats or my glove or whatever. Like, I think all athletes have those nightmares once they stop being competitive. They just, oh man, where's my wrestling shoes? Or whatever. All those nightmares went away. So it was nice.
Yeah, that's so I guess that year kind of took the luster away maybe a little bit and made you appreciate what you had before, or was it like, oh, okay, I've tried this, I'm done now, and I'm going to move on to something else?
It really was the latter. It was like, I've done it. I made it. I've been there. I know what it's like. It wasn't as a kid, obviously playing professional baseball, you kind of have this fantasy of what it's like and how great it's going to be, and you're going to be, famous and make all this money. And, when I got my shot, I realized that it was just a lot different than I thought. And I'm sure it had a lot to do with, just minor league ball is a lot different than, playing in the majors. When you get to the majors, those are the real professionals. The minor leaguers, they're all just trying to climb the ladder. Right. And so there wasn't a ton of camaraderie. There wasn't a ton of I love being part of a team and a close knit team and guys that are willing to put their asses on the line for you. And there wasn't much of that in the team that I played for. And I kind of got my eyes open to, number one, you don't make hardly any money. Number two, there's not this huge camaraderie within a single A team. Everybody's kind of into it to try and perform their best so they can get picked up and move up into the ranks and maybe make AAA when it was all said and done, I was glad I had done it, but I was like, man, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be, I guess. I would rather go back and play college baseball than go back and play another year of the minor leagues. It's a rough time, and I have a ton of respect. I mean, a newfound respect for those guys who spend a lot of their time in the minor leagues and just love the game so much that they keep climbing and climbing and clawing away and making it happen. But I was done. I was glad to close that chapter, and it really made me appreciate that I had the experience, and I could use that experience and that knowledge to pass on to people in the future when I started training and coaching people.
Yeah, let me ask you this, because I've always kind of wondered this. When that time was over, all right, when you said, okay, yeah, I've done this, I'm moving on now. Did something in your mindset change about physical fitness? Like, were you able to stay in shape right after that, or was it not a problem for you at all, or did you have a lapse?
So I had a lapse right away. Like, as soon as I stopped, as soon as I basically had thrown in the towel and came to grips with the fact that I wasn't going to be a professional athlete. I was going to be a coach and a teacher and a trainer. You know, my fitness really kind of fell by the wayside for a little bit. Just, I didn't train as hard. I didn't really feel like I had much to train for. So I was training here and there, but nothing real consistent. And every time I'd go into the gym, it just kind of became mundane. Like, man, what's the point of all this? And why should I keep training when there seemingly doesn't seem to, there's no point to it. And so that lasted about a year, about a year. And then it came a point where I just got tired of, I gained about 30 pounds, and I remember I was on a bike ride, and I was just climbing this hill, and I was with some younger kids that I was teaching. We were going on a bike ride, and I got to the top of this hill, and I was really out of breath, and these guys were waiting for me. And man, I guess it just bruised my ego a little bit, and I was like, all right, that's enough of that crap. I'm getting my butt back in shape. Yep. If it's one thing I didn't want, it was, feeling like I was dragging the group down. I kind of took pride in the fact that I was somebody to chase, not somebody to wait for. So that was the turning point. I got my butt back in the gym, and just started doing some high reps and lifting some weights, and then I got out and started doing some cardio, some biking, some running, some swimming. And I didn't spend a ton of time. Like, I've never been one of those guys to spend, a couple hours in the gym. Get in, do something with a purpose, and get the hell out and move on with your life. And then one of the keys, I think, to my comeback, as you'd call it, my physical comeback, was that I tried to make everything I did into a workout. And I classified my workout as, if it makes me break a sweat, I'm working out. And so regardless of what I was doing, I was trying to, make it a workout. If I was out, just walking to class, instead of walking to class, I'd run to class. If I was watching TV at night, every commercial, I'd drop down and do push-ups for one commercial. And as soon as I switch commercials to the next 15-second commercial, I'd do sit-ups. And then the next 15-second or 30-second commercial, I'd flip over and do push-ups. And then when the program came back on, I'd sit back in my chair. But I was always looking for any excuse to just get a quick one in. You know what I mean? Like, gotcha. If I could sit down through a program and every commercial I'm doing push-ups and sit-ups, by the end of this program, I'm going to have, a couple hundred push-ups and a couple hundred sit-ups knocked out. And I didn't have to go to the gym. I didn't have to do anything. So I think that was in fact, I know that was a big key, because, I had a full-time job, everybody's busy. I think that might be something that's overlooked just in programming, just in itself. And the way people look at quote unquote working out is that they have to go. For some reason, people right now are just dead set on the fact that they have to go to the gym to work out. I say, Yeah, that's horseshit. Like you can do anything and make it a workout. You know, like if you're doing some shoveling or moving some rocks or hell, even if you're going, if you work at an office building and you're on the third floor, instead of taking the elevator, like run up the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think
set your, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right on point here, man, because I think one of the worst things that we've ever done in this country was to make fitness into a hobby, right? And not part of our life.
Yeah, right.
And, I think like regardless of what modality you're looking at, whether it's CrossFit, whether it's bodybuilding, whether it's, you're just trying to burn fat, build muscle, or do whatever. If you're looking at it like a hobby, and that Fran time is going to get old at some point, and something's going to happen in your life, and you're going to have to, feed some mouths and pay some bills, that can go away. Right. Same thing with the abs. It's like, if your abs aren't going to be as important as the things that are stressing you out in your life. And I think, we lose it when things get bad, but in this way, the way you're talking about, the way where you can make it part of something bigger, that's going to be important to you for the rest of your life, you hold on to it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're just in a really weird time right now, because it wasn't that long ago that you didn't have to go out and, go out of your way to exercise. We'll just call it exercising. You didn't have, to move around, because most of the jobs that people had were, there was some movement involved, some labor jobs. There was plenty of jobs, and most of the jobs that the guys had, they were out moving around, and they didn't have to go out of their way to exercise and move, because that's what they were doing all day for their work. I mean, my dad's a great example. I grew up in the timber industry. And all the guys that I knew that were my dad's friends, they didn't go out and work out and get ready for hunting season, because they packed the freaking chainsaw up and down the mountains, cutting down trees or hooking cable or turning logs or they were doing something physical all day long. So when it came to hunting season, they just throw a pack on and go. And they were mountain men. They were ready. They never thought about, oh, I got to go to the gym and do some bicep curls. That you know what I mean? That just didn't exist. And I know it's a kind of a micro of picture of the rest of the country. But the fact of the matter is the more technology is developed, the more we're going to have to just think about movement. We got to get out and move. And if we can think of it as just get off our butts and move, stand up. Start with just standing up. Stand longer instead of watching TV. If you just stood up while you watch TV, or stood up at your desk instead of sitting down at your desk, it's amazing how much difference that small adjustment would make in your overall health. Well, what do they say? Sitting's the new smoking, right? Like, we sit so much that it's becoming the new smoking. And here lies the problem. And I think I heard you talk about it on a podcast. Is that we're misled by the media. We're misled by advertising and marketing for fitness, and that fitness is for people who are already in shape. And that if you come in and come into our gym and do XYZ, then you're going to have these results. And the fact of the matter is, it's not true at all. In fact, in order to have those results, it takes a lot more. It takes most of those people that are advertising, they're professional weightlifters. They're fitness models, and we get impatient with the process. And all this comes back down to, you don't have to go in and spend 2 hours in the gym. You can start by doing the little things, and the little things will add up. It's something that nobody tells us, in fitness marketing, because it doesn't promote their bottom line. But it's simple as watching what you eat, cut all the sugar and all the pop out of your diet, and then stand for more hours than you sit in a day, and you can turn your health around drastically. Those two things: cut the sugar and the soda out of your diet, and stand on your feet longer than you're sitting in a chair every day. And those things would change your health drastically.
Absolutely. I mean, I could not agree with you more here as far as it's those really simple things that you can do to just get up, just move. And we don't have to believe this narrative that we're being sold. When you see this advertising, there's a guy working out on the beach in Malibu. He's going home. He's what's it called? Drinking his green smoothie in his perfect house with his perfect wife. And then he goes out and a weight training session in at Gold's Gym Venice. And, that's not the narrative that we need to be listening to. What we need to be hearing is that if you're out there and you're working and you got a family you need to support, if you got responsibility, if you got people that depend on you, fitness should be way more important to you than that bachelor fitness model who's living in Venice or Santa Monica. It should be. Yeah. Because you have more that depends on it.
Absolutely. It's one of the things that is a staple at Train to Hunt, is that, because when I first started this thing 7 years ago, I got a little bit of lashback, not a ton. There was a lot of really good feedback, and that, man, I'm glad someone's finally out there training, a little more primitively and specifically for hunting, because, it's really tough to find anything that is training hunters specifically. But I did get some lashback as far as like, man, you don't have to be in shape for hunting. And I've killed tons of animals over many years, and I've never worked out for it. And, you try to convince me that I need to go out more, that I need to work out. And here's what would put most people in a place where they shed some light on it. And this is what I'd tell them. I'd say, do you have a hunting partner? And most of them do, because most people, I'd say the majority of people have somebody they hunt with, even if it's, hey, my dad and I, or my brother and I, or my cousin and I, or friend and I, we go out, we either hunt in the mountains together, or we divide up and go into, our separate blinds or tree stands, and we hunt. And then we meet up at night. What I tell them is, what would it be like if you were out with your hunting partner and you were, just say a mile from help, and your hunting partner fell out of a tree, or your hunting partner had a heart attack or a stroke or broke their leg or stabbed themselves in an artery with a knife, or got hurt bad enough that they are in an instant, they are completely dependent on you to save their lives. At that moment, if you are not physically prepared to do so, your life is going to be forever changed. You're never, now I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for myself, that it would be really hard to forgive myself if I ever put myself in a situation where I knew I could have done something about it, but I didn't, whether it be, and so I say, if you're getting ready for a hunt, or if you're getting ready for, basically, you name it, you just said you have a family, you have people that depend on you. If you don't take it upon yourself to stay physically ready to help those people who are dependent on you, whether they will admit they depend on you or not, like in a hunting partner's case, that you may go out there as, physically equally, with equal physical ability, but they stab themselves in the femoral artery, and instantly now they're going to depend on you to get their asses out. If you can't do that, I would have a really tough time living with it. And I would hate to think that I could have prevented it by just simply being disciplined and taking action to get prepared for the worst case scenario, leading up to that event, whether it be a hunt or anything like that. So you hit it on the head, man. Like, if you can't find it in yourself to stay disciplined, to stay healthy for yourself, then look around you, because there's people, I promise you, there are people that depend on you to stay healthy and fit and ready at any moment to be able to lean on you. And if you're not prepared, you're going to regret it, period. So I couldn't agree more, man. Like, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family, you owe it to your kids, you owe it to your friends to do one simple thing, and that is just stay disciplined in your pursuit to be the best version of yourself that you can be. And that means exercise, nutrition, and it seems simple. I get it. It seems simple. It's simply stated, and most people are having a tough time with motivation.
Absolutely.
Man, how do I stay motivated?
Yeah, that's huge. And another motivating factor that I just thought up while you were speaking there is that, even if say there isn't a possibility of tragedy, and even say you're trained to the point where you've minimized all of that, well, think about this. Yep. You still got to put socks on, right? In order to get out there and hunt, you still got to put boots on, right? So yeah. What happens if you become diabetic and you get diabetic ulcers on your feet? Right. Right. It comes down to this. If you love hunting, how long do you want to be able to hunt for? Right. How long do you want to be able to hunt for in your life? Do you want to be 75 and still being able to get out there, or do you want to be, 55 and you can't get out there because your blood sugar is too high and you're getting diabetic ulcers on your feet and you're afraid of losing a toe? That's a huge thing. Yep. And I think that's where we're headed. But what I really want to get into this. How did you develop the concept for Train to Hunt?
Well, so I owned a CrossFit gym, mm-hmm. and I opened it in 2008. And prior to that, I actually was training at a big box gym here in Spokane, and I just fell in love with training people and seeing people break down limitations, and seeing how people felt about being disciplined in their pursuit of fitness and health. And I was able to train a lot of really great athletes, and I had a lot of fun training athletes who were really, focused on a goal and becoming, taking it to their sport to the next level, whether it be soccer or football or baseball or, any of those traditional sports. And so I spent a lot of time training people in sports specific areas so that they could just move up to the next level. Well, about two years into my CrossFit, owning my CrossFit, we started training baseball teams and football teams. And every September, I'd block the whole month out so that I could go hunting. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I was training much different than anybody else that was training in the CrossFit gym, because I had my sport. I was hunting. I was getting ready for these adventure hunts in the backcountry. I was going to Alaska and doing, 10 days sheep hunts in the Brooks Mountain Range. And I knew, hey, there's a certain modality that needs to be practiced here, or else, I'm not going to be as prepared as I could be. I mean, I can't go jump on a bike, and I can't, do Fran, a couple of times a week. I can't do, these short CrossFit workouts, because it's not preparing me to the full potential for hunting, because hunting is more of an endurance sport and stamina, and really focused on nutrition. And so it was 2010. It just kind of dawned on me that, you know what? Nobody's out there training hunters to get ready for hunting season. And really the big light bulb was, I talked to my dad about getting ready for a hunt we were about ready to do. And he said, man, I just hate going to the gym. I don't want to go and run on the treadmill or go lift weights and I was like, wait, Dad, you don't have to do that. Like, here, get a backpack, get a sandbag, and carve some time out after work, and I can give you a whole training program to get ready for our hunt. And I realized, hey, nobody else is out there training these athletes, these guys who are preparing to go into the backcountry, into the unknown, into the unpredictable. There are certain types of exercises. There's certain time, domains that they need to be working in. There's certain strengths that they need to have. There are other areas that they don't have to stress as much, like just absolute strength, and they don't need to be working on as much as they do their overall endurance and mobility and power. And so the light bulb went off, and I said, hey, I'm gonna throw this out there. I'm gonna open a website, and I'm just gonna advertise for, training hunters to get ready for their fall adventures. And I searched and searched and searched the web to see if anybody was out there doing it already, and I couldn't find anybody. And so I thought, man, I was onto something. So I launched this website, put up daily workouts, and had a really good result. And had guys coming, really raving about, man, thanks for putting this out there. I really enjoy your workouts. I love that I can do them at home. I love that you mix in shooting my bow into the workouts. And yeah, Train to Hunt was launched, and it went really good for 12 months. And I started doing some analysis after 12 months and found that around November, obviously hunting season was over, and people started falling off, stopped coming to the website, stopped doing the workouts. And I was like, yeah, man, of course, people are training like June, July, August, and then going into the hunting season, and then, around the holidays, they just drop off and they don't come back until the next June, because they figure, I'll just get ready for hunting season in June. So I started, thinking about how I could entice people, hunters specifically, this audience that I had. How could I entice them to think about and stay in shape all year? How could I get them to go to the gym, or do a workout 3 to 4 times a week, year round? Just think about it year round, and always stay prepared, and stop dropping off right after hunting season and coming back right before hunting season. And that's where I came up with the idea of the Train to Hunt Challenge. And that was just my answer to, people were, basically there was sprint triathlons. It was this kind of the very first start of these obstacle races, like Spartan races, Tough Mudder, and those obstacle races. And then there was like road races, like 5Ks and 10Ks. And if you were a beast, you could go out and do some of these ultra marathons, or maybe run a marathon, or maybe do an Ironman or an Olympic sized triathlon. But there was nothing that was like, you know what, let's test true hunting fitness, like mountain fitness. This was before GoRuck. This was before any of these companies. And so I put together a challenge that was like, all right, let's see if you can do these physical challenges. And they were simple, just like over the buck step ups, and then run, 300-400 yards, catch your breath, refocus, get your heart rate down, and make a good ethical shot with your bow on a 3D target, on a foam target. You do this for 6 stations and finish. And so I threw it out there. I said, hey, anybody interested in doing something like this? We're going to be in Boise. Come out and give it a shot. If the fastest time through this course, will win a free Hoyt bow, and the second fastest wins Vortex optics. And we just had a few prizes here and there, and we got a pretty decent turnout. And it was a good enough turnout that I decided to just continue the pursuit of expanding the race. And over the years, we've done the best we can do in expanding it across the country. And I'm excited to say that we've basically reached all the corners of the United States. We're in New York, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Texas, Oregon, Washington, Montana, Idaho, Colorado, Wyoming, Arizona, Utah, or Arizona and Nevada. So we got these events all over the country that are qualifiers for the big stage, which is the national championship. We bring all the top 3 top 3 in every division and bring them together, and we put them head to head and see who the best in the country is. So
let me ask you this: what types of skills are you training for in Train to Hunt? Is there a like a list of skill sets that you guys focus on?
Yeah, so we want you to be able to move loads over uneven terrain.
Gotcha.
Efficiently,
Mm-hmm.
whether that be in a backpack or over your shoulder or carrying it in your hands. But we really focus on your ability to move loads, small loads, large loads, medium loads, whatever that load might look like, over uneven terrain, for, right now we're testing upwards of a couple miles, but in your training, you should be, looking at somewhere between 2 and 10 miles, depending on what hunt's coming up, how far the prediction is. We focus a ton on your ability to, calm down after a bout of exercise, whether it be just a run or some burpees or some over the box step ups or some ground to shoulder, where you basically pick a sandbag up and throw it over your shoulder. You do that a few times, and then immediately, how fast can you complete your last rep? How fast can you calm your heart rate down? Focus on what the task that needs to be done, which is shooting your bow accurately. Draw your bow and make a good, ethical, confident shot. Like how efficient are you at being able to go from 100 miles an hour to 100% focused on a shot? We work on that skill. We also work on being able to pick weight up off the ground efficiently and get it to your shoulder, or just get it up off the ground, because there's a proper technique and an efficient technique that you can use to avoid injury and just conserve energy, frankly, so that you can get that weight from the ground to your person, and then so you can pack it out. I would say the other modality that we work on a lot is just overall just endurance.
Mm-hmm.
How long can you stay in motion without stopping? Basically, right? Like that's hunting for you. You're basically gonna ruck over an unknown distance. I mean, we all know that anybody who's hunted at all knows I'm going to start here. I know where my starting point is. I know where, I have a pretty good idea of where my destination is and where I want to maybe set up spike camp or whatever. But, the day's activity kind of takes you off trail or off track. And who knows, you might arrow a deer or an elk like early in the day and then end up spending the rest of the day just on your feet, bent over, tracking that animal. So what you need in order to be able to last from sun up to sundown on your feet is just flat endurance. And so we focus a lot on just endurance. It's just slow bouts of exercise, spread over anywhere between 60, an hour to 3 hours.
Wow. So when you're training for one of these things, what's your, I don't want you to get into like specifics on the workouts or anything like that, because I know you put a lot of the workouts on your website, but what's your typical week of workouts like? What's your typical kind of programming like? So
you want to do at least 5 days a week, and not all 5 of those days do you need to go, blowing out your eyeballs. I'm pretty consistently, even with beginners, will say you want to give me at least 2 days a week where you're going as hard as you can for a shorter period of time. So, a good couplet might be like, first of all, you want to warm up, and that's something that we can get into, but it's really overlooked aspect of fitness is warming up properly so that you don't get injured during your workouts, because we all know that nothing creates a bigger roadblock or a bigger excuse to stop training than injury. So warm up. And then what I do is a couple times a week, I give people like a couplet so it'd be like, 10 ground to shoulders with a 30-pound sandbag, and then a 200-yard sprint. And do that as fast as you can, and then give yourself 1 to 3 minutes to recover. In that recovery time is a good time to calm down, take a shot at a target, 20 yards or whatever. If you have the equipment available and the space available, that's a good time to calm your heart rate down, take a good shot, and then on the 1 minute mark or 3 minute mark, do that again. Do 10 ground to shoulders with the sandbag, and then sprint for 200 yards or 400 yards, and do it as hard as you can. I mean, this is a good opportunity for you to go out and really push your limits for a very short period of time. And that's the important part, is that these really high intense bouts don't need to be more than, a couple minutes, 2-3 minutes, and then give yourself a little bit of rest. And then, give yourself 5 minutes rest after those 3 sets are done, and then go into a second couplet or triplet, whether it be like maybe, say 10 air squats, 10 scissor jumps, and 10 kettlebell swings, and do that triplet for 3 rounds. But the key here is that you want to do it fast. I'm a firm believer in that there's really two ends of the fitness, basically the motor, the two motors that need to be executed the most are usually the ones that we neglect the most, I think. And what I mean by that is, we spend a lot of time, even people who do go out and they do, work out or they do move. Mm-hmm. A lot of people spend most of their time in this area of it's pretty hard, where they're pushing themselves hard enough to make it feel like a workout, but not so hard that it's painful. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like I don't feel like I'm dogging it. Like I'm pushing myself, but I'm not pushing myself so hard that I'm breathing out my eyeballs. And I think that what we need to do is we need to focus more on on both ends of the spectrum. So either you're out doing, and I'll just use this as you should be doing either wind sprints, or you should be out going at a slow pace for a long duration. You should be working, doing some cardio, some heart rate training, whether it be, 140 beats per minute. It's usually like right around 180 minus your age for an hour, or you should be doing these balls out workouts as hard as you can for these short durations, 1 to, say 30 seconds to 3 minutes with short breaks in between, because I think that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck is really what I'm saying. So if you do 2 days of really hard, short duration, really super hard, mixing in, ground to shoulders, burpees, box step overs, sandbag get ups where you hold the sandbag at your chest, you lay flat on your back and stand back up. But you're doing these hard. You're not pacing yourself. You're doing them super hard. That's why you keep the counts down to, somewhere between 8 and 12, and you just go as hard as you can. You do that a couple of times a week, and then a couple of times a week you want to try to carve out an hour to 90 minutes where you can get on ideally it'd be good to be on your feet, whether it be you have a weighted pack, or you're just going for a jog, or you're on a bike. If you got some knees and hips and some back issues, you can do some unweighted cardio, whether it be swimming or biking or recumbent bike or rowing, something that's off your feet so you don't beat up your knees too much. But a couple times a week, you should be setting aside a good 60 to 90 minutes. And, most people can do this on like maybe a one day during the weekday and then a Saturday. Mm-hmm. That's the way that's my schedule right now, is I do like a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for my long cardio. And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday is when I do my hill sprints and my heavy pack climbs and that kind of stuff. So in order to train for the challenge, the train hunt challenge, I would train just like if I was getting ready for, a long hunt. And that's really what the challenge is there for. It's really easy to get caught up in, man, I want to train specifically for this event because I really want to do well. And so how do I need to train? Well, I say you need to train just like if you were going to go out on a regular, 2-3 overnight, backcountry hunt where you're going to be negotiating some terrain, whether it be climbing mountains or rocks or whatever it might be. So that just looks like, train hard 2 days a week, train long bouts a couple of days a week to build that endurance work capacity, and then shoot your bow a ton.
Yeah.
Shoot it as much as you can. Shoot it during your workouts. Every time you take a break, pick up an arrow, catch your breath, go through your shooting routine in your head, and get a nice clean break, good release, and get confident that you can shoot that bow under any circumstances, in any situation, and in any position, kneeling, seated, standing, shooting from, drawing from a kneeling position and standing up and shooting. But I would just shoot your bow a lot, because over the years, if it's one thing that's held true, is if you're the fittest guy on the planet, but you can't shoot, you won't win a train hunt challenge. You just can't, you can't run hard enough to make up for bad shooting.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of people in the audience who relate to all this. And I think that, back when I went into the military, I went in the 1990s, and, we were focusing on these long, slow runs. If we did other types of training like calisthenics, we were, of course, focused on the pull-ups because they were part of our physical fitness test. But it was like long, slow runs and then bodybuilding. And then I think today it's a lot different. More and more people are doing high intensity training and training at both ends of the spectrum. But I think that for guys who were really into, both being fit, but being functionally fit and being fit for a purpose, this is something that's absolutely awesome. Let me ask you this. As far as nutrition goes, is there a recommended train to hunt nutrition kind of protocol that you guys use?
Man, this is one topic that I feel like is such a huge can of worms that I've never really risked. We don't have a protocol. We don't have a like, this is the diet we recommend, because every human is so different, man. Like, there's some rules that I always recommend. And it's funny to me because a lot of times people think that dieting is about, man, I want to eat the right things. I want to make sure I'm eating enough protein. I want to make sure I'm eating, the right carbs and not the wrong carbs. I want to make sure that, how do I know if I'm getting enough fat in my diet? What I tell people is that the best way to start looking at your nutrition is to look at the things that you shouldn't be eating, and stop eating them. That's always my first piece of advice is look at the things what are some of the things that that you're eating now, even if it's just once a week, that you shouldn't be eating. They're not good for you. Whether it be, a lot of people have sweet tooth, so they'll eat a piece of cake, or they'll eat a donut, or they'll have, they can't seem to say no to a soda or a candy bar, or, man, my life's so busy that I can't, I just eat whatever's in the break room, and, there's only pizza and donuts in the break room or whatever. So look at the things that you shouldn't be eating, and then stop eating those. The next thing I tell people is that you have to prepare to succeed. You have to prepare to succeed. If you don't prepare, you're really setting yourself up for failure. And in that you should have something on your person, in your car, in your pockets, in your briefcase, something that will rescue you when you're so hungry that you're basically ready to throw in the towel. And we've all been there, man. I'm as guilty as the next guy.
Mm-hmm.
You get caught up in the grind, your daily grind, and you're out about. Before you know it, you look at your watch and, man, I'm starving and I'm a long ways from home, and I'm just going to swing in here and grab something to eat. Even at that moment, you have a choice whether to stop at the grocery store and get something, that you have to put together or eat, or you can stop at the fast food joint and grab a burger, a burrito, or whatever. And when you're that hungry, your body is telling you, give me calories, give them to a lot of them to me, and give them to me now. And so a lot of times it's easy to just give into that temptation and swing in. Now, if you have something on your person, you have a few ounces of meat, whether it be lunch meat or any kind of meat. And you have, a few almonds, and you have some string cheese, or, some sort, just something that is going to take the edge off of you so that you can think rationally. You're going to be like, okay, I don't have to stop in there and get that fast food joint. So that's one of the things one of the practices I have people start doing is come up with something. It's not gross. I mean, if you don't like almonds, get macadamia nuts. If you don't like them, get cashews. Just get something. Get a food that you know is good for you. Some beef jerky, some sort of nuts, and maybe you like dried mango. You don't want to have a ton of that because there's a ton of sugar in that. But something that can rescue you. It's your rescue pouch, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't make those bad choices when it seems there's only bad choices to be made.
It seems so that's a good that the hunting lifestyle can almost feed a healthier lifestyle too, because if you're hunting for your own meat, a lot of these animals out there, they're not eating a bunch of corn, and they're not fattening themselves up on omega-6 oils or anything like that. A lot of the animals you're hunting actually provide really healthy protein. So almost seems to me like the lifestyle would feed the nutrition almost.
Absolutely. And the one thing that is really apparent, and I think people are becoming more and more aware of it, is that all meat isn't created equal. That's just the bottom line. And when I'm asked the question, well, what meat do you know is good meat? And, how do I know if I'm getting a good cut of meat? And I tell them this, that I tell them that when you can, you want to get grass-fed beef or organic chicken. I said, however, and this is the big however, there's still some risk in that, because unless you know how that animal grew up, like what were the conditions around this animal? How that animal died, like what was the method used to kill this animal? However that might be, how it was handled immediately after it died, meaning how was it processed? How was it handled? Did it sit out? Was there a ton of other, chickens or a ton of other beef in this same warehouse? There's some risk involved. If you don't know how that animal grew up, how it was killed, how it was treated after it was killed, then there's really some unknowns about this protein that you'll never know. And so I try to encourage guys and tell people that that's one of the most beautiful parts about hunting, or even like raising your own chickens or raising your own beef or whatever, is that you know how that animal was raised. You know what it ate. You know how it died. You know how it was handled immediately after it died. And so you can be confident that meat you're sticking in your body and fueling your body with is the best possible protein that you can get. And if you're going into a restaurant and ordering a steak, or ordering the chicken, or ordering, whatever it might be on the menu, you don't know those things about that protein source. You don't know how it was handled. You don't know how it died. You don't know how it was handled after it died. None of that. So protein is not created equal, I guess, moral of the story. So hunting your own meat has that huge upside. You're not getting any hormones. You're not getting, you're not getting all these unnecessary macronutrients in your beef that you're not going to get in a wild animal.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I want to ask you this because I know you pack a lot into a day. What's your daily schedule like? What's it, what time are you waking up? What are the first things you do in the morning, and then how are you spending the rest of your day?
So the first thing I do when I get up is I have a cup of coffee, because I usually wake up and my son has to catch the bus at 6:20 in the morning. So I'm up at about 5:50, 6 o'clock. I'm waking him up. I'm grabbing that cup of coffee. I do the bulletproof coffee. So I put grass-fed butter and coconut oil in, and then a little cinnamon in my coffee. And I'll see my son off to school. And then about 6:30, right now it's getting light enough outside, about 7, because I go work out. And the reason I have to wait for it to get light outside is because my workout facility is outside I have a little pole barn on my place where I set up my equipment. And so it's it's pretty primitive. It's dirt floors and sandbags, and I have a barbell in there, but there's no lights and no heat. And so I wait till it gets light. And so about 7:30 or so, I'll go out and warm up, work out, and get done. Usually you're right around 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then I will usually get some work done. That's usually my email time. I'll sit down and get some email stuff done. My wife, spend some time with my wife and my 2 youngest kids, who are 4 years old. I have twins, a boy and a girl, twins, and I'll spend some time with them. And then, yeah, it's crammed. It's a crammed day, but it's fun. I love spending time with my kids and, putting together puzzles and reading to them and, wrestling with my son. And about 11 o'clock is when I eat my first meal. And that's usually, I usually have some sort of protein, whether it be steak or sausage or some sort of a protein. And I'll do like a big salad with mostly like spinach and greens and little cheese and some cucumbers and that kind of thing. And then and always a full avocado.
Nice.
So I get my protein, my carbs, and my full avocado in there. And then in the afternoon, that's usually when I'll go out and I'll get some arrows done. I'll use practice, like shooting from my knees or shooting from a seated position, or I'll do like a real quick burst and recovery shoot, where I'll do 5 burpees as quick as I can and get a shot off. Try and get a shot off in I'll do 5 burpees and try and get a shot off in 30 seconds. So I'll start a clock, 5 burpees, get up, shoot 30 seconds, and kind of give myself that perceived pressure of shooting, so that there's a little bit of a clock in my head, and practice just shooting under pressure. And then my son gets off work, or my son gets off school about 3:30, and then it's family time. Then I at that point I'm usually playing with my son, and by playing I mean we're shooting our bows, and they have a little a little ninja course that I set up for them that has tires and boxes. Yeah, my kids are freaks about American Ninja Warrior, so I'm always trying to build them new little obstacles they can swing on or jump on or over or whatever, and throwing snowballs and sledding, and try to get them outside as much as they can. Of course, they're typical kids that, once they discover that, oh, there's games on this computer, oh, I'd love to sit here and play with this computer all day. So I'm like the hell, I'm like, no, put the computer down. We're going outside. We're going to have fun. And they usually fight me a little bit, but then once we get outside and start running around and throwing, if you can get boys to throw and fight and jump and roll around and They love it. The more roughhousing I do with my boys, the happier they are.
Yep.
And my little girl, she's tough too. She, she's poor thing. She's the only girl, and 3 kids. She's got a twin brother and an older brother, but she's tough. She gets in there, and I make sure that she, I baby her a little bit. She's my little princess, so I can't let her be getting hurt.
You got to make her. Make her just tough enough to be lethal. So
that's right. That's right. That's right, man. Man, I was just thinking this last night because I was wrestling around with my boys. I was like, as soon as we have the time, and I'm gonna get all my kids into jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Because it's such a good way. It's like wrestling, right? It's just the only difference is that in wrestling, I always felt like I was, I never sized people up, but I always felt confident that, hey, I can hold my own against just about anybody because, I have these wrestling skills and I could take them down and basically incapacitate them. I didn't have the chokes and the tap out of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but I always felt pretty confident I could go get them down and tie them up enough that they would just have to, basically give up, or else I just, beat them up. And Brazilian jiu-jitsu is just an added element, right? It's not just wrestling, but it's like giving you the ability to like really, like if you have to, you can knock somebody out, you can choke them out, you can snap an arm or whatever needs to be done. So I don't promote that for my kids as a way for them to go beat people up, but it's a huge confident booster to know that if it came down to it, I could hold my own. And that's what I just want them to have, the confidence,
That's the most important thing, man. I think, I watch the kids at the jiu-jitsu studio I go to, and they're like little ninjas. I mean, literally, you see like these 8-year-olds. We just had I think there's somebody, he's like an 11-year-old. He was in an MMA fight, a kid's MMA fight like last week. And the kid's a beast. Like he's got 6-pack abs and big biceps, and he's like 11. When he gets to high school, he's going to be like running the place. But yeah, man, like jiu-jitsu is a really, really awesome. I mean, I'm a white belt. I'm a nobody in there, but I've been doing it for the past year, and
nice.
It's been really, really great for me, because I get to go back to those days when I was in wrestling practice and you're doing the grappling and everything like that. But one of the things about jiu-jitsu that I realized was that, wrestling's really tough. If you know grappling, you're ahead of the game. But at the same time, they can use everything that I ever learned in wrestling against me if they know. So it was like I came in there the first day, and I was. I was pretty big back then. I was 215 pounds. I was deadlifting close to 600 pounds. And I got broken in half by a dude who was 130 pounds. Like really, really crazy. And that's where I was like, I got to learn this stuff. Like this is pretty cool.
Well, it's a great way to learn humility, right? Mm-hmm. Like you go in there and like, no matter how big and strong and fast you think you are, like you just said, like I got broke off by a guy, 135-pound guy. Like seemingly, like there's no way he should be able to submit me to, make me tap and say mercy, right? But it's and I think it's important. It is. There's a couple things that I think are really important for men, and one of those is that you feel confident that you can handle yourself.
Yep.
In any situation. The other thing that's really important to men, I believe, is that we're always testing ourselves. Mm-hmm. We're always pushing forward to the next mission. We always have something to focus on, our energy on, and we're pursuing the next thing. You know what I mean? And I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is great because it has the belt system. So you're always trying to progress and get better, and there's some humility in that. There's some you're going to be tested daily. You're going to have some surprises, like wow, as you learn, you're going to be able to beat guys that are bigger than you, and and you're going to be humbled by people who, you feel like you have no business. But in this pursuit, you're going to find some purpose in your training. You're going to find some purpose, in your discipline. Like, man, I gotta be more disciplined in my diet if I want to progress, optimally in this pursuit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I just think there's a lot of upside in that pursuit. And the other thing that, the other thing I believe is men need men. And I'm not trying to say that, I say that like, with all due respect, right?
Yeah.
Like men need men to be, and they need honest men. They need men who will hold them accountable. They need men who will be like, man, you're screwing it up. You gotta, come back to us. And I guess kind of along the same lines, the one thing that I feel, the reason I feel like we need a pursuit, we need to be involved in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We need to surround ourselves with honest, good men who have our best interest in mind. Is that motivation? Like, motivation will always fail you. Period. Like, if you're looking for reasons to stay motivated, so that you to go get a workout in, to stay disciplined on your diet, to do those things, motivation is always short-lived. And if anybody's ever tried to be like listen to a podcast or watch a movie or listen to a song, and I'm ready, I'm going to go get after it right now. A great example is that your New Year's resolution, right? Like, okay, this is the year. I'm going to do it. I'm motivated. I have a wedding coming up or whatever. Like, that is short-lived. The only thing that will never fail you is self-discipline. That's it. Like, and it's as simple as it may sound, there is nothing that's going to taste better, feel better, or make you more happy than discipline. Nothing. Like, just think about this. When you're like struggling through your day and you go, man, I don't want to work out, but you take the opportunity to be disciplined. You go work out. After your workout, how do you feel?
I feel absolutely
you always feel great, right?
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. And I would argue that it's not that amazing feeling, that proud feeling, that, man, I'm so glad I did this. It isn't so much about the workout you just did. It's about the fact that you decided to stick to your discipline, stick to the plan. Like, this is something that I set my mind out to do today, and I'm going to damn well do it. And you do it, and then afterwards you're like, man, I'm so glad I did that. And if and on the other side of that, if you like, man, I'll just do it tomorrow. What do you usually spend the rest of the day doing? Usually sitting on your ass and making bad decisions, right? Like,
yep,
I'll work out tomorrow. I'm just going to go home. I'm too tired. So I guess that's what I would say to your listeners looking for a motivator. Like, man, I need, what can help motivate me? I'll tell you what, motivation will fail you. I would look for some motivation, look for some things that get you going initially. But when it comes down to grit, it comes down to the time of like where your motivation is, your videos and your music and everything around you failing you, stick to your discipline. I put it on paper that I'm going to do this today. I'm going to damn well do it, come hell or high water.
Wow. Those are amazing pieces of advice. And you're absolutely right there. It's, discipline is absolutely everything. And, we've talked about a number of different things that could keep you in the game, so to speak. Right. And the fact of the matter is this, it comes down to, I've had days when I didn't want to work out. I've had days when I didn't want to go to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But I've never regretted going. Right. Never.
Right.
Never.
Right.
Never in the world have I ever regretted a workout. Never have I ever regretted going to a jiu-jitsu class. Never have I ever regretted going on a run. Plain simple. I have regretted sitting on my ass and eating ice cream. That's I have regretted a lot of drunken nights, but I'm not going to regret any of that stuff. So.
Man, that's so true. I mean, here's another thing that I want to put in the mix in this conversation, and that is that when you're talking about discipline, all it really is just a matter of sticking to your own plan, right? So like you say, tomorrow I'm going to whatever, write this article, I'm going to work out, and I'm going to, run this errand. Like those are the three things I'm going to do. So you write those down on Monday night, and this is what I'm going to do on Tuesday. I'm going to work out, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. Wake up the next day and then just do what you said you were going to do. The other thing that you have to keep in mind is that, and I run into this a lot in a lot of areas. I ran into it with my wife trying to ask me about a workout program, and a lot of people are like, man, I feel like I get started and then I burn out really quick because I get so sore, and I just kind of get overwhelmed with stress, and like my work week seems to like overwhelm me. Here's something that I would say to any of your listeners out there who are just getting started. Like, man, I'm ready. I'm just not sure how to go about this. I would encourage you to make sure that you're designing this training schedule, okay, as if you're designing it for somebody else. And it's somebody you like, by the way. It's somebody you like.
Yeah.
Like somebody you don't want to see get too sore. You don't want to see them get burnt out. You don't want to see them get to a point where it's just too much. Plan your day as though it was for somebody else that you really like. For like somebody who is working for you that you like really care about this person. You care about their well-being. You care about them getting in shape, but you don't want them to go too fast and get burnt out. So if you're just starting out, don't like schedule yourself. All right, I'm going to work out 5 times this week. I'm block out an hour a day. Like, ease up on the gas, man. Like, give yourself a schedule that like, no matter what happens in my day, I can stick to this. Like, tomorrow I'm going to get up, and tomorrow, sometime throughout the day, I'm going to do 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups. And then on Wednesday, you schedule Thursday. On Thursday, I'm going to walk or run for 1 mile. Here's the thing. You can always ramp up your workout. This is a marathon run, you guys. This isn't a sprint. We're not trying to get in shape by Saturday. We're not trying to get in shape by next month. We're not trying to get in shape by next year. We're trying to create a schedule that we can stick to and feel and know we'll be able to stick to and feel good about sticking to. And that's why I say design it as though you're designing it for somebody else that you like. Because a lot of times we're just really hard on ourselves. Damn, I'm in such terrible shape. I'm gonna get in the gym. I'm guilty of it, man. Like I've missed a week of workouts before. On the road. I'm on the road, or I have all these excuses. I get home, and what's the first thing I want to do? I want to beat the hell out of myself. I want to go for an 8-mile run, and I want to do, two workouts, and I got to catch up. Like somehow I need to catch up. You don't need to catch up. You need to create a schedule so that you can maintain it. And most importantly, like I just said, you can always ramp up your workout. But at the end of the day, you never want to get to the end of your day where you're writing out your schedule for the next day and feel like a failure.
Right.
You don't want to go, dang, man. I wrote that I was going to do 5 miles on the bike, and I was going to, do, squats, and I was going to do, 4 sets of max push-ups. And man, I barely got on the bike, and I was so burnt out that I was beat after the bike, and I came home. And so even though you did something, you still feel like a failure. So go easy on yourself. Start slow. Start slow where at the end of that workout, you might feel like, man, that was pretty easy. Well, that's how it's supposed to feel at first, where it was really easy. Like, and then the next week, maybe you're doing a little more. And then the next week you do a little more. And every single week you're going to learn a little bit about your fitness level, what you can handle, what your days are going to look like. And pretty soon, like 5, 6, 7 months down the road, it is like clockwork, baby. I mean, you're in a rhythm, and you know how to squeeze in your workout here, your workout there. You know that you're going to get during lunch, I'm going to get so many flights of stairs done, regardless of what the rest of my day looks like. So that's a good place to start, man, is just like, go easy on yourself, schedule it as though you're scheduling it for somebody that you like, and try not to cram your workout into a day. Like, just build it into the day. You got time. I guarantee you got a combined hour somewhere, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 15 minutes here, where you can get out and move, go for a walk, go for some stairs, do some push-ups, do some sit-ups. You don't have to be in a workout outfit. You don't have to be in a workout gym. You can do it anywhere.
Yeah, that's discipline is really the way to go with this, because it's a matter of integrating this stuff into your life so that it's like brushing your teeth, right? You're going to do it.
That's right.
Right. Or you're going to include it regularly. Maybe not every day, but you're going to include it in regularly. And I think, what happens is we set it up, like I said before, like it's a hobby. Like, we set it up to be something that when everything else in our life goes wrong, or the second something goes wrong in our lives, that's the first thing to go, is our physical fitness, and we drop it. Right. We drop it at really, really crazy consequences to our health, to our well-being, to our mental stability. That's a huge factor, because there's a mental factor here. There are chemical stimulations that happen when we train that help to keep us in a positive mood, to keep us moving, to keep us in a good mindset.
Absolutely.
One thing I wanted to ask you too was, I know you talked about Train to Hunt as being something that was for hunters, but do you think you've attracted anyone to hunting through Train to Hunt?
Oh, absolutely. I think what we are doing is we're really, I think what we're doing on a big scale is we're teaching people how to train without going to the gym. Mm-hmm. And people are really there's not as much of an intimidation factor with a bow as there is with a gun. Guns in somebody who is really uneducated, maybe never been exposed to guns, there's some fear along with those, with a gun. We all know that they're safe. You need some training, but they can be as safe as possible. But the fact is, people, they don't seem to have that intimidation or that fear factor of a bow and arrow. And so people are picking up archery equipment, learning how to shoot an archery equipment, and starting to have fun again with their workouts, because they like the aspect of being able to do these things and shoot their bows, and then in the process they start looking at the benefits of hunting and harvesting your own meat. And so with the paleo, I mean, I can take the paleo movement a lot for this, in that people are becoming very aware of what is going in their mouths and the quality of things that are going in their mouth. And so people are starting to think, maybe it wouldn't be such a bad idea to go out and maybe get a deer, or maybe, go out and get a turkey, or whatever it might be, go out and harvest my own meat. And in fact, people for some reason look at doing that with archery tackle as somehow, more ethical or different. And, to which I would disagree. But, I think that the Train to Hunt movement is starting to show people that, number one, you can work out at your house and you can have fun, because there's some skill, and you can pick up archery tackle and learn a new skill. And then in the process, people are like, hey, I'm getting pretty efficient at shooting this bow, and I feel like I'm ready to go out. And of course, that opens up a whole nother can of worms, because I'll be the first one to tell you, just because you're in shape and you can shoot a bow doesn't mean you're a good hunter. It just means that you're in shape and you can shoot a bow. But I do think it is opening the doors and at least starting a conversation with people who might not otherwise have started that conversation, to being open to the idea of hunting their own food.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to follow up with a couple of final questions. Number one, what would it take for somebody to really make the jump into hunting? Like, where would you start? Would you start with getting a guide? Are there people out there that you can learn from?
Yeah. If you've never been hunting, what I would do is, find a mentor of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you don't know anybody that hunts, I know this is going to sound self-promoting, but I would start by doing a Train to Hunt challenge. Mm-hmm. It's an absolute amazing community full of people who are willing to help any way they can, especially new hunters. They just, these people that are able to set down their egos, come out, compete against each other. And they all seem to be like-minded in that what they want to do is they want to welcome you into the Train to Hunt community, which really is, part of the hunting community. And in that, they're willing to bend over backwards to make sure that you have everything that you need to feel confident to go on your first hunt. Maybe they'll recommend a guide. Maybe they'll invite you on a hunt. Maybe they're just going to give you some shooting tips on some shooting tips, or some tips on how to set up a good set for a whitetail stand, or whatever it might be. But I would challenge any of your listeners who out there are like, man, I really like to get into hunting, but I'm not sure where to start. I would challenge you to come out, start shooting your bow, get in shape, come out and do a Train to Hunt challenge and meet some of these people. And it's absolutely amazing. There's a couple stories that I have around this whole idea. One of them being, my neighbor kid is, he's a sophomore in high school, and he texted me one day and says, hey, Kenton, is there any way you could show me how to shoot a bow? And I said, absolutely. Come on over, come over. I'll show you right now how to shoot a bow. And he comes over, and I was assuming that he had a bow, and, he comes over and he's no bow in tote. And I was like, oh man, I don't have a bow for you. I'm left-handed for one, and I don't think the draw length is going to be appropriate for you. And so I don't want to teach you on equipment that isn't set up for you, because you'll run into some frustrations that you normally could avoid. So he said, well, gosh, I got my 4-H money where I sold my steer, and I have some money. Maybe I can, where would you recommend that I look to get a bow? And I said to him, I told him, people are always looking to upgrade. And so you might want to, check, Craigslist or some of the hunting forums. And I said, but I'll tell you what, I'll get on the Train to Hunt Facebook page, and I'll just I'll let people know that you're looking for a bow. So I got on there and I said, hey, I explained the situation. I have a kid who is really looking to try and get into hunting, but doesn't have a bow. He's looking for something cheap. Does anybody out there have a bow that you could sell him for a few $100s? He's just a high school kid. Within 15 minutes, I had an email saying, hey, I got this bow that I bought last year. I'm upgrading this year. I got a bow, a sight, a rest, and 2 dozen arrows that I'll ship your way. And I said, man, is there anything how much can I trade you something? He's like, nope, I'm just glad to see somebody, starting out, and yeah. I'm happy to donate my bow. That's the kind of community that we have. And I believe that most hunters are kind of in that same mindset that they're willing to help out hunters that are just starting out. So, ask around, find some mentors, find some people that are willing, and most of them are going to be willing to help you out.
That's
the
awesome.
other, go ahead. Yeah,
that's an awesome thing.
It is, and it's one of my favorite parts about starting Train to Hunt and seeing where Train to Hunt has come. And our community is 16,000 strong, and people in that huge hearts. They're willing to help. They're willing to. I mean, I see year after year after year. I see guys from back east, going hunting with somebody they met at Train to Hunt out west, and they took them for their first elk hunt or their first mule deer hunt, or these bonds are built within this community. And I think that your listeners, you would understand. There's nothing more bonding than going through hell together. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like if you go through boot camp together, you just have this mutual respect for one another, and you know that what this person is willing to do and sacrifice for the better of the group, and how much they're willing to push through, and you see it in their eyes, and you see it in their actions, and there's something really special about being part of that. And I can tell you that in the last 7 years, on 3 separate occasions, I've had ex-military men stand up at the closing ceremonies and basically give the same testimony. And that was, after I got out of the military, I felt really lost for a long time because I didn't have my brothers with me. I really didn't have this group of people that I felt were like my team and my brothers and sisters, and I really kind of felt like I was lost. And after coming to this competition, I feel like I have found a home again. I feel like I found people that understand me, who welcome me, and people that I can look to. And those moments right there felt authentic, and it made everything that I've ever done worth doing. All the late nights, all the phone calls and emails, and the time I sacrificed with my family and my wife and kids, and it made it worth it, because that's what Train to Hunt is about. That's what the hunting community is about. It's about inclusion. It's about you're safe with us. We're welcoming you with open arms. So anybody who's out there looking for that camaraderie, that family, that community to dive into and be part of, Train to Hunt is the place I would steer you. It's unlike just about any other community out there. The only thing that I've seen that could come close is when I owned a CrossFit gym. That CrossFit community was really tight knit as well. But man, if you're starting out, or you're looking for some people to connect to that are willing to, give some blood, sweat, and tears to the cause, the Train Hunt community is the place.
Awesome. Well, Kenton, a couple of different things. Number one, how can people join the community? So you can start by just going to Facebook and joining the Train Hunt community Facebook page. It's a closed group. Everybody's welcome, but the importance of being part of the community as opposed to just the Train Hunt page is that if you're part of that group, you get that on your timeline every single time. And you can start there. And then if you go to traintohunt.com, you can look around. You can become a member of Train to Hunt, which entails basically you getting a week's worth of workouts, which is 6 workouts in your email inbox every Sunday for a year. Wow. It's $120 for the year, but you get 52 weeks worth of workouts that you can do. You can supplement with them. You can do them exactly. You can use them at your discretion. But it's one thing that is really popular at Train to Hunt is the membership, because people, even if people know what to do, they get tired of programming for themselves. So they'll just jump on there. Yep. They'll become a member, and every Sunday they can count on checking their email and there's my week's worth of workouts. They just go through them and they pick and choose, or they follow it right as laid out, whatever they want to do. The other thing that I would really encourage people to do is come out and do a challenge. It's really not this big monster that people
have probably made it to be. It is challenging, and it's designed to be physically challenging. But I designed the course so that whether you're just starting out or if you're just like a year-round beast, it's going to be challenging. It's just all up to you. How fast do you want to do it? But there's nothing in there in the challenge course that you're going to run up against where you're going to say, there's just no, physically, I just can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
I can't pick this up, or I can't step over this box, or I can't, whatever. There's nothing in there that you'll run up against. I mean, we're only talking about 10 over the box step ups with a 20-inch box, 20 burpees, 20 sandbag to ground to shoulder. So lift the sandbag from the ground to your shoulder. And the heaviest sandbag is 50 pounds. And then you put a pack on. The heaviest pack's 50 pounds. It goes down from there, 40, 30, even 10 for like the 60 and over women. And then you negotiate this mile-long trail, and you shoot it. And other than that, you're just shooting targets. So physically, it's not that demanding. Now, there's some guys out there that are going to go out there and they're going to hammer that trail. They're going to hammer that course. They're going to be fast.
Yeah.
But even if you're starting out, you can do it. Come out and do a challenge, meet the group, be part of the community, get involved. There's some great groups out there that are accountability groups. Train to Hunt accountability group. There's a accountability group out there called Hammer and Chisel that is kind of a shoot off from Train to Hunt, where they post one workout every week, and everybody just kind of feeds off each other. Yeah, I got it done. Here's how I did. Or, man, that was hard. Whatever. But become part of the Train to Hunt community, Facebook, Instagram, and then get on the Train to Hunt website and sign up for an event near you. Just sign up for an event. You won't regret it.
Awesome. Well, Kenton, I want to really thank you for coming on today. I just emailed this guy out of nowhere, and I was like, dude, I love what you're doing. I want you to come on the Warrior Soul podcast. He heard what we were about, and he wanted to come on without hesitation. So I want to thank you for coming on and talking to our listeners. And I want to thank you for creating this thing. I think it's absolutely awesome. And I think for those of you out there who are wondering about something that you can be fanatical about, again, right? Because I think at the end of the day, those of us who served in the Marine Corps or served in the Army, what we're really looking for is something to challenge ourselves, something to become a little bit fanatical about again. This could be the ticket for you, and it's fun. It's going to introduce a life skill, or it's going to help you to focus on a life skill that you already have. And it's going to give you a reason to get out there and get after it. And I think that's what's so important. And with so many of us in the veteran community and in the United States suffering from metabolic disease, diabetes, obesity, we've got to find new ways of moving, and we got to find new ways to kick up the intensity. And I think Kenton's definitely got something here. So again, Kenton, thank you so much for coming on. And
you bet.
Yeah. And to everybody else out there, get out there and live your best lives. Talk to you soon.